it's interesting for me to see how people change their interests over time. How you can talk to someone for years about something, a hobby you want them to take up, and they might not be interested, but suddenly one day they have a new life experience that changes their perspective. Like me, I was not interested in learning any language besides English or Spanish, which were my native languages, and now I'm trying to learn German. And it's not because someone convinced me to do so, it's because one day before my trip to Europe, I'm like, hey, I'm going to spend a week in Germany all alone. Maybe I should know a few phrases in German. Good thinking, I know. So I looked up some YouTube videos, I downloaded an app called Duolingo for learning languages, and I looked up some phrases that I needed to know to say. You know, the common things like, where's the bathroom, where's the food, where's the pizza? And help, I'm having an existential crisis right now. You know, things you say every day. And on the plane ride there to Germany, I also was able to talk to 2 German friends who were able to give me some pointers. Now, this would all have been easier if I had actually stuck with them in Germany instead of doing my own thing, but that made too much sense at the time. So I went to Germany all alone and tried my best, and actually by the end of the week, I was able to walk into bakeries, order something unhealthy with a side of heart disease, and leave without breaking into English. I just used Spanish instead. No, but I was seriously impressed with the amount that I was able to pick up in just a week from having absolutely no knowledge of German from the beginning, and it made me realize, hey, maybe this is something I could pursue after all. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I still learning German when I left Europe so long ago? Well, I also met a girl right before my trip to Germany, and we've been dating for over 5 months, and she knows German fluently. So, there's a motivation there. Specifically, I want to be able to make fun of strangers in public with her, so yeah, German's really good for that. Now the problem is, despite my motivation to learn German, there are some really big roadblocks along the way. It can be a really difficult language for us to pick up, just like English is really difficult for people with foreign languages to pick up. And I want to share some of my frustrations with the language. But I first need to mention, I'm not just whining about this myself. Mark Twain himself wrote an essay entitled The Awful German Language, which is the title of the speech. I don't actually hate German. I think it's a wonderful language. I'm just a little frustrated with it right now, okay? Let me have this. So, here are 4 frustrations I have with the language. First, the gendered noun system. So, in English, if you want to refer to something, a thing, you can say a thing or the thing. You just need to know the word a or the. It's the same word no matter what. But in German, every noun has a gender. Masculine, feminine, or neuter, and you have to know them, and in order to say a thing, you have to know one of 3 different words for the, and one of 3 different words for in German. So for example, to say the chair, you have to say der Stuhl, but if you want to say the wall, you have to say die Wand. Which is, so da, die, or das are the 3 words for the, and then there's also words for which makes it extremely confusing because now you have to think every time you say a noun, you have to remember the arbitrary gender assigned to it, and then you have to say the right word. And the gender has absolutely nothing to do with the characteristics of the noun whatsoever. It's just kind of randomly assigned. I think there's some logic to it, but it really isn't something that you can use to remember. So you just have to know that a wall is feminine, a girl is neutral, and a male is masculine. Fire is neutral. These are just completely random things you have to remember. And the problem with this system is it has no practical benefit that I've been able to find. It's just there so that foreigners are really obvious to Germans, because occasionally they'll get the noun wrong, the noun gender, and they're like, oh yeah, you're an idiot American. So that's fun. The second frustration I have with German is adjective declensions. Now, if you don't know what I'm saying, that's fine. I'll explain it to you in a second. But this is the single most frustrating thing that I've had to learn, and I'm probably not even going to try to learn it until I'm way down the road. So basically, in English, you could say, my good friend, I have coffee with a good friend, I give something to my good friend, etc. You just say the word good or my good, and it doesn't change no matter what you're saying. But in German, that would change all the time. So the root of the word would be mein gut Freund. It's simple enough. But you can also say mein guter Freund, meines guten Freundes, or meinem guten Freund. And that's just 3 different types of sentences with a masculine singular noun. If it's plural, or if it's feminine, or if it's neutral, all of those letters that you see bolded here will change, depending on the type of sentence too, okay? So you can't just say, oh, I know this word, I know that word, I'm going to describe a noun. You have to know the declensions that go along with that and change the word accordingly. It is incredibly frustrating and difficult to understand. Now, third thing with German that I'm frustrated by is the word order. I'm okay with languages having different word order. That's just a different way of doing things. But sometimes it doesn't make sense. It makes it more difficult to understand. So in German, many sentences have the verb at the very end of the sentence, so you don't really know what's being said until you've listened to the whole thing. So to give you an example, if I were to say, yesterday I talked to the scary man on the sidewalk, in German you would say, I have, yesterday, to the scary man on the sidewalk, talked. And you don't know whether I'm talking to him, hugging him, hurting him, stabbing him, until the end of the sentence where I threw in the verb, which is really confusing as well. So that's another thing with German that I'm not a fan of. And finally, if it's not bad enough for you that the word order is flipped all the time, fourth, some verbs flip the word order again. So if you want to say I miss you in German, you could say ich vermisse dich, which makes sense, it's like I miss you. Or you can say du fehlst mir, which is more like you are missing from me, or something like that. So you have to say you first, and then a verb, and then me, which totally flips the word order. And if you didn't happen to know that that verb works that way, you'd be completely confused and alone. I just need to get that off my chest, okay? I have been having fun learning German. There is a certain joy that you get from being able to string together some words and actually figure it out on the first try, or getting laughed at by your girlfriend when you try pathetically to say something. There's joy to that, and there's definitely a lot of enjoyment that I get out of learning German. And trust me, it'll all be worth it when I get to Germany and realize that all the Germans are not flibberty-gibbets. They don't want to talk to strangers. Oh boy. Thank you.